Hey guys, so RT Sonics was kind enough to send me the new sample library called Cinematic World, and it's a sound design library. It's actually really useful. So they asked me if I could do a demo track, and then do a review of it. So we're gonna get into that. But before we do that, let me tell you a little bit about the library. Cinematic World was created in collaboration with several award-winning sound designers, whose credits include titles such as Disney Plus, Diablo 3, The Outsider, Soul, StarCraft 2, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Mortal Shell, and many others. The library contains 600 highly detailed, designed, signature, and source sound effects. It includes hits, reverses, whooshes, clocks and ticks, subs, synth pulses, risers, cyber weapons and vehicles, drops, atmospheric pads, and brams. Now, one of the really great features of this library was that they included the source files. So all the sound design patches that they have were drawn from these source files. So you can go in and do your own treatments and effects on the source files, which is pretty great, I think, and a nice touch. Sounds are recorded really cleanly, and they're really powerful. I mean, you can tell when you hear the source files that they were done really well. So I thought that was a really great thing that they did, and really useful. And in fact, the track I did is based around a lot of the loops from the contrabass. So they had a cool contrabass loop that I actually inspired my whole track. I did sort of a horror trailer, and it was very much based around that one loop. So we're gonna get into that. So why don't we listen to the entire track, and then we're gonna pick it apart. I'll go through all the types of sounds I used, and the treatments for all of them. You know, I did very little EQ on these things because I think they just sound so great. So what you hear is kind of pretty much what you're going to get. So I think they're made really well. I used probably 90% of what I did in the track was actually from the library. So the only other thing I used was some Olaf Arnold's chamber evolutions strings, like high strings. And that's pretty... Oh, I used a couple of my own samples that we'll talk about. I have this spring instrument that I created using garage door springs. So yeah, I really like that thing. And in fact, I'm probably going to make that available on the Patreon. So if you want to grab those samples, I'm probably going to put that up there. So that was it. I just used those two things, and all the rest, which is like 95% of the track, was taken from this library. So I think it gives you really a good overview of what it can do. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to play the whole track in its entirety, and then we'll go back and analyze each part, and then at the end I'll go through all the sounds in the library, or most of them. So let's get into it. So we're going to open up Cubase now and listen to the track. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the track. First of all, I want to just show everything I used that's not part of the library, just so you guys can get a sense of. But like I said, it's mostly the library. So, but I used this spring instrument that I created. I used this ticking sound. So that, and that comes back at the end again. I use the Oliver dissonant strings for the end section. And also here, this is another sample from that spring instrument that I created. I'll put a picture of that up at some point. But this is like a bowing sound. So I bowed the string and it puts some ping pong delay on it and reverb. But that's pretty much it for the sounds that aren't part of the library. So we have all this stuff here. I just wanted that dissonant bed there at the end for that end section. So I love a lot of the booms here are really good. I use this at the beginning. And this I call it the flyby, but it's this sort of like a nice stinger there. And then I have this atmosphere at the beginning as well. So that's it for the intro, those 3 elements here. And then the ticking comes in that is also part of the library. But I kind of separated it, I spread it out a little bit. I did very minimal treatment on it. I think I put a little reverb. But it's actually nice by itself. So that's pretty much this first few seconds here. And then this is kind of, the whole track is based on this. This is the contrabass loop that's part of the library. And I kind of, when I heard this, it kind of inspired me to make this track. So I think it's kind of the central element of the track, really. And I really I don't think I did anything to this, actually. Yeah, so no effects or anything. This is just right out of the box. So that with the ticking, I think, was pretty... It's a nice tension there. So I layered it with this my own sample here. Which, even if you take that out, it's still... So it doesn't really need that, but I like that element. I think it's interesting. Okay, let's talk about the risers here, because this is important. And I did like my own stuttering effect on it. So I just kind of, if I zoom in on it here, you can see. So did a fade in here. And some crazy panning there. Just to make it kind of glitchy, and then I actually added this glitch. This is part of the library too, this glitch riser. Well, it's not really a riser, but I just did like a fade in of it. So the two, let's listen to the two together. And I like the idea that the glitches are kind of in the spaces of the riser there. So I didn't carve away that at all. So I like the combination of those. A lot of times I take hits and I reverse them. So this is a case of, here's the high hit here that comes in after this space. So I took that and I reversed it to add to the riser. So that's a cool trick, I think, and it makes it sort of organic, the connection of that. So if you hear everything, let's just check it out here from... Actually, let's check it out. We'll hear the whole riser here. Okay, let's talk about this hit. Well, I brought the atmosphere back in. And that's gonna like fade out there. And I showed you this hit here already, this high hit. Ping one, what is this? That's nothing. Alright, but the central element to this is this, what I call Bram Stoker, but it's just a Bram part of the library. But I just love how aggressive that is, and it's got a great low end too, and punch. And then that eerie kind of end of it is really... And that actually comes back at the end, so it becomes, because it's so interesting to the ear that I wanted to bring it back for the end. So what did I layer on top of that? Well, a ticking ear, which it didn't really need, but hyped aggressor. What is this? Oh, this is a... So that's that bass sample that's kind of like tweaked. But I think that's... Let me see what I did there. Oops. Yeah, there's no effects on that, so that's just sort of... And on top of that, this is from the Signature Sound. Nice hit. It has a nice space to it. Different kind of attack, almost like a woody attack. I mean, that's the whole thing with these things, is layering the sounds to make your own kind of interesting combination. And to me, that filled kind of a sonic gap. Okay, so then what happens there is a whoosh. So you have this suction kind of sound. And then a nice bass there. And on top of that, I did these sort of pings here. That is also part of the library. Actually, there's another one there. So they're more spread out. If you hear the actual sample, and we'll go through the samples at the end. So I kind of put them closer together just to make it more to fit the track there. But really nice sound. I didn't do anything to those. That's pretty much how they are. I tried not to mess with the sounds too much. They didn't really need anything, so that's always great. It gets you up and running really quickly. And especially if you're inspired by something, you don't want to be bogged down by adding effects to it and stuff. So after that, so after those pings, you kind of have a space there where there's tension. So to break that tension, or this, not tension, but there's anticipation, I should say. And then to brings us to the next sound. So that is, I think that's the bass. They did a lot of contrabass samples, which is really nice. I've always loved the contrabass for stuff like this. Get some really great harmonics because of the scale of the instrument. And also it's related to the beginning part where we had that contrabass loop. And then it acts to usher in the dissonant strings there. So that's a nice that's that other that's pretty great. I think that's all the contrabass. This isn't that solo that again. Yeah, it's really interesting. So to bring us back to that refrain of that initial idea, I use this reverse here. And I may have added some distortion to it. Yeah, added a little devil lock to it. And I darkened it up a bit. So actually, let's hear it without that, just so you could hear the difference here. I just did that to fit the rest of the vibe of the track. Which it's kind of fine that way too, but I kind of liked darkening it up and distorting it a little bit. So then we're back in this. The main elements of this is that ticking and this, what I call bass aggressor, which is that bass loop. And that's it. I'll play that with everything, but so the ticking is like actually like a clock. So the tempo is a little, I had to kind of move things around because I wanted it to go with that bass part. So I kind of did some cutting there. But let's hear everything together. Alright, we'll talk about that end hit, but before we do that, there's a riser here that's really important that comes in. So when I sketch these things out, well, with this particularly, I took some sounds that I really liked, and then I kind of started arranging them. And then I went from there. So I knew that I wanted this one at the end. And I think what sells this for me is that helicopter sound, that sort of rhythmic, that builds a nice tension and suspense there, and sort of, yeah, just is really good to build tension. Because, you know, you hear a million risers with just the strings going up, and that's fine, but when you add that rhythmic element, I think it kind of puts it over the top. And that rhythm against the steady clock rhythm is really what makes it work, I think. So that's a good technique of something to do. All right, so then after that, let's talk about the the end hit. So that Bram Stoker thing comes back, that Bram. But this time I put like a lot of reverb on it. Because I really wanted it to sort of carry the track out. If that makes sense. So what did I think I just used the Valhalla vintage verb. I use this a lot. But I put a lot of pre-delay because I didn't want to. That's the key, I think, with this is, I mean, with any reverb, really, it's the pre-delay. So I set it pretty high because I wanted to get that initial attack and then have the reverb come in. That's pretty important with any reverb. And then at the end, the important element after that, well, let's talk more about that hit. So we have that, we have this other kind of opening, closing door thing, whatever. And then the stinger here, what's this? Alright, so that's another bass sample. And on top of that other Bram, it kind of was a nice... That's my own sample there. So I kind of like that metal, kind of eerie sound above that. It's subtle, but it adds a lot. This end hit. So kind of high metal, high hit. So the thing about with these big hits is you got to kind of watch out. You don't do too many low end hits. So I try to think like, okay, low, mid, high when I'm layering stuff like this. So, you know, don't add all your low end hits all together because then it's going to be a mixing nightmare. So I kind of had those different elements there. And all together, it makes it really interesting. Because everyone has, here's the thing, like everyone has the same sounds pretty much. Like you can all go out and buy these sounds, but the whole thing is how you combine them. And I think that that's really the key, right? There's like a finite number of maybe elements, but the way you put that together is what makes it unique. So here's a nice, really nice atmosphere that I wanted to go at the end of the track. So after that big hit, to kind of bring us out of it. And then under that, I just did like a boom. Because, you know, when you see these things, you're like, okay, coming Halloween 2021. So you have a boom with that or whatever. That's a really nice sub there. Check it out. And the combination with this coda that gets really, this atmosphere gets really low at the end, so they sound really nice together, I think. So let's so that's the track. No, we're gonna go through all the different sounds now, and I'll just show you quickly all the different patches. It's not really patches; they're just come as samples. So I kind of loaded them into my own contact player, and we'll go through that. So the signature sounds are I would say like the premier sounds of the library. But I did draw from a lot of other places. But anyway, let's go over these here. So these combine kind of all the different types of sounds. So you have So I'm not going to go through all of them, but so yeah, this is the one that I used a lot in the piece. So that's a good one. And that actually gets progressive. It's a really long sample. Actually goes through a few different passes where it increases in intensity. That's another one that I used. So there's a lot of cool like sci-fi sounds like that. So really great evolving sounds like that. So cool loops. I actually almost used this and did a sci-fi track. Maybe I'll do that at some point because I really like that one. It's another one I used. So yeah, great sounds. Actually, so that's another loop. Whoosh bangs. Nice drop there. Anyway, we're not going to go through everything, but this is the riser I use at the end there, so you heard that one. This is what I use for the intro. So I used a lot from this signature collection. Some creepy like music box stuff. I think we're getting to like the ticking stuff, yeah. So this is the one that I use, and I kind of divided it more for the track. I like that. This is nice. Nice hit there. Kind of sword. Rise to a bell. So those are the signature sounds. So even from that alone, there's a lot to draw from, I think. But then they have, so these are all the stingers. And so I divided it into these. So this especially, I use that in the piece. It's another one, I think I use that at the end. It's that sword again. This is a cool reverse. And then we have whooshes. It's a nice one. So all really great. That's cool, like vehicle drive-bys. I think these are great for video games, and there's really so many applications for this aside from trailer stuff. Because actually they were designed by a lot of video game designers, or you know, they helped design it. Here's some loops. So I like So what I like about these, you notice they're really long. They're like 16 bar cycles, 8 to 16, and then maybe even longer. That's pretty long. Depends how you count it, but these are at 120. But I actually went in and I did like you can go into Contact and do like maybe I'll make a video about this, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube already about this, but you can go in and do like a time stretch thing, so it can play at any tempo. It's actually pretty good with that. So you go to Wave Editor, and then you go to the time machine. And then you could divide it that way, and it chops it up. It's pretty smart, actually. It kind of looks for transients and chops it up. But anyways, a lot of videos about that. So then with that, you could do these at any tempo. If I change the tempo of this, it's at 120 now. See, it goes faster. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, moving on. Booms and subs, which I used. I use that one maybe at the end. This is a cool low atmosphere. I used it at the beginning of the piece. Anyway, more drops. That's a good one. These are great for like action, sci-fi stuff. Let's see, Brahms. That's kind of a cool Bram loop. Oh, I like that one. That's a cool loop. Can tell that came from a lot of the strings, the contrabass. So that's one I used at the beginning and end. See, there's cool variations with the loop. So what I did actually, you know, you record the whole row of these things, and then you can go in and chop it up and divide the sounds and use them where you want to. So there's really a lot of stuff in here. And what is this? Some hits and atmosphere. Nice hits. Oh, I want to show you these pings coming up. So these are just some hits. All really usable though. And I used quite a few of these. So here's some of these pings, which are cool. And they're loops. And then this would be good for an intro to a trailer. Kind of sets a cool mood. I think I used this one, so yeah. So it's a whole sequence, so you can go through and yeah. Some cool atmosphere. Yeah, this one I used at the end, I think. Anyway, get lost in that. Impacts, let's see with this. Get some. These are more good for video games and stuff. Big like explosions and impacts. Or trailers. Oh, that's a good one. So this is pulses. It's recorded at 165, but I did the time stretch. Kind of industrial stuff. Glitches and risers. Riser. So yeah, it's cool to include the variations So you have a lot to draw even just from one sample. These are all the glitches. That's good. Stuff like that. And I think that's it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I think it's a great library. Totally usable sounds. Like I said, for trailers, video games. For the amount of sounds you get, it's really a incredible library because they're all really super usable. Even if you just draw from their special collections. I want to thank RT Sonics once again for sending me the library and being able to make the track for you. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to get notifications, because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. Not so much, I mean, maybe some reviews more, but a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of theory stuff, some mixing techniques, and yeah, maybe some improvs too. I'll get back into that. I got the drum set here now, so I can do some maybe some drum stuff too. Yeah, so we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.